Hey and welcome to MFFLtv. I'm your host Dylan and class is in session. Just coming off the breaking news, Bledsoe has been traded to the Clippers for Rajon Rondo, Patrick Beverly and Otoro. Free agency has really died down, so honestly it's just cool to see something happening in the NBA. But from the Mavs perspective, is any of this intriguing? Should the Dallas Mavericks pursue either Rondo or Beverly if Memphis was willing to get rid of them? At the moment, I'm a bit iffy on both. I'm going to try and go through some pros and cons, see whether they should or not. First of all, I know Rondo's already been a Mav and it did not go well at all. However, Carlisle's not here now. Jason Kidd was there with the Lakers when they won the chip. Could he maybe have a better relationship with Rondo and make it work here in Dallas? Potentially. So that's one thing I'm sort of looking at. So I don't want to look at his previous experience in Dallas too much, although it was rough. But, for the betterment of the team, I do want to see if he's a good piece, if he can help this team. But so let's get straight into it. Starting off with Rajon Rondo. So, as you can see, Rondo's had about 18 games for the Clippers, 7.6 points, 5.8 assists, and 1 steal per game. Nothing that's just out of this world, but look, very solid numbers, especially coming off the bench, being a backup guard. I think that's very serviceable. As well, he's one player that typically performs at his greatest in the playoffs, which I feel like not enough of our players do. I don't want to be too harsh, but this past season, Porzingis, Kleber sort of deterred in the playoffs for definitely different reasons. Porzingis was sort of iced out of the offense, and Kleber seems like he had an injury or so. But I think we definitely need people that step up in the playoffs. You see Luka, he always takes his game to another level in the playoffs, and he's always a big time player. I think Rondo's another one, and I think he's someone that can come in and really facilitate the offense for our second unit. I like Jalen Brunson, I think he's a very good scorer, but I think his one weakness is he can't really get other people involved to the degree that I think we need. So honestly, I think Rondo coming in would be really serviceable for the Mavs. I know he's had his previous issues, but look, he's improved as a three-point shooter. Again, maybe Jason Kidd and him have a better relationship, so it could work better this time. And I think someone that can just come in, play defense, get other people involved, I think would really help and could, play a lot of chunk of the minutes with the starting unit. Yeah, I think he's one person that can really help Porzingis' game out, can help Tim Hardaway Jr. get his touches, and I think would be really instrumental for the Mavs. Yes, I have my problems with Rondo as well, like anyone, but honestly, I think if we could get him for cheap or for free even, if Memphis buy him out, which we'll talk about later, I think he'd be a really good addition. So let's move on to Pat Bev. Now, I can only imagine what Luke is thinking about this, but also similar to Rondo, could Pat Bev be someone that comes off the bench, provide energy, be a key piece in that second team? Maybe. Last season he did come off 7.5 points, 3.2 rebounds, 2.1 assists, and nearly a steal and a block a game while shooting 40% from 3. So he's definitely not that secondary creator we've been looking for, but he's definitely improved as a three-point shooter and could be really serviceable in that. And I think one thing he brings that we don't have at the moment is someone that can defend the other team's point guard. At the moment, we're probably going to be asking Reggie Bullock or Finney Smith to be doing that night in, night out. Are they athletic enough to really be defending the NBA's elite point guards? I'm not sure. I would much rather have them on the wings, guarding the other team's best wing players, and having someone dedicated for the other team's point guard. And that's where Pat Bev, that's where he comes into play. Yes, we've probably had our issues with him in the last 2 playoff series, but look, he's tough. He doesn't take it from anyone. Sometimes he crosses the line. I think that's where most people have their problems with him. But as someone that can come off the bench, hit threes, play defense, I think he'd probably be a really good addition as well. And depending on the price, he could be someone that we really should target. That's the thing though, there's no real indication yet if Memphis are willing to buy any of them out or if they're willing to even trade them. From my opinion, I can't really see them keeping either of them just because it doesn't really fit the rest of their team. That being said, let's look into that and see maybe why they would get rid of some of them. So, the Grizzlies depth chart, as you can see, they have Morant, Brooks, Anderson, Jackson Jr., and Adams likely as the starting lineup. And ESPN thinks Melton, Williams, Bain, Tillman, and Clark will be the backup. So this is why I think maybe they'd be willing to accept Powell for either of them. They seem pretty low in depth at the center position, and that's sort of where we have an abundance of players. Do I think we should give up Powell for one of these? I'm still a bit iffy. I think both of them could come in and do a job that would be maybe better than what Powell can do. But for the locker room, it's always tough trying to implement people who don't often work out. Especially, Beverly's had his problems with Luka in this playoff series, and Rondo's had his problem in Dallas, so that's a whole mess as well. But sometimes you got to take a chance on these things as well, and similar to maybe like a Rajon Stephenson, I think we do actually need a bit of that toughness in this team. I feel like we get bullied a bit too much, and either of these guys will help prevent that. Are they both dirty? Yes, and I wish they would cut that out of their game. But both, good defenders, get in other people's faces, they're tough, and both provide very different roles in this team. Rondo with the playmaking to help the secondary unit, and Beverley to be a primary defender as well as a spot-up three-point shooter. I think we do have enough spot-up three-point shooters, so where Beverley really would be key is that defense. I think that's something we don't have enough of, and that's something you can't really find in the NBA very easily. Someone that can really defend point guards, so I think we should really try and look at either of them if possible, especially since their stock is probably going to be lower than expected in Memphis. Memphis has a very young team. I think they're going to try and get their young guys minutes, so I don't know if they're going to keep either of them. But like I said, one possible trade would be doing Powell for either of them. It works salary cap-wise. Would the Mavs do it? I'm not too sure. But those are two options. So, if we get either of them, how would we line up? So let's have a quick look at that. So, both of them being similar positions will fill very similar positions in the secondary unit. So if Beverly comes in, we'll have Brunson, Beverly, Sterling Brown, Maxey, and maybe Moses Brown. It could be Willie Cauley-Stein as well if we do trade Powell. So with this, I think, we definitely get a very strong defender. When then we have sort of four guys that can just shoot. Jalen Brunson, that's the one thing I said though, he doesn't really get other people involved, so I'm not sure if other people would be able to excel in this lineup. But defensively, 2 to 5 were very strong defensively, so I think that's always something we need to look out for. I think anytime we can improve our defense, that's always a good way to go about it. I think at the moment it's just not good enough, and that's really one thing we do need to improve. However, if Rondo comes in, I think it'd be Brunson moving to the 2, sort of like, being that combo guard and having Rondo run the point. So, he can get Brunson the touches that he needs. He can make sure Sterling Brown gets enough shots, Maxey gets enough shots, Moses Brown has some lobs. Then maybe he can play with the starters a bit, make sure Porzingis and Hardaway Jr. get their touches, take a bit of the pressure off Luka, can make him a spot-up shooter for a few minutes, let him get his energy back. So I think, honestly, Rondo would be my preferred choice. I know about the history in Dallas. I've said it so many times. But I just think we got to take a chance. We currently lack a backup guard. At the moment, it's looking like Tyrell Terry, Josh Green, or Trey Burke will have to fit in that role, and I don't think any of them are ready enough or should be in that position. Especially if we do want to take that next step and start making some noise in the playoffs. So, I'd probably take either. If I had to choose one, I'd probably take Rondo just because, as I said, I think everyone else will become so much better because of him. And he always plays better in the playoffs. So I think that's something crucial. He can step up his game and really be that boost off the bench. However, that is not all. There's been reports that Lance Stephenson has been holding some workouts, and the Mavs have been one of the people interested in watching. Honestly, look, I like Lance. I think sometimes it's a bit boneheaded, but definitely someone that can come off the bench, bring energy, uh, have some razzle dazzle, excite the crowd a little bit. As well, it'd probably be very low risk, maybe a vet min. But his last season, in just under 17 minutes a game, he averaged 7.2 points, 3.2 rebounds, 2.1 assists, and 37% from three. None of that you can really argue about. Very productive. Sort of just fell out of the NBA, but he's a good playmaker. He's not the best, but he's someone that can make some nice passes. As I said, excite the crowd, maybe get us going on some runs. So I think that's someone we could definitely look at. Do I think we should? I'd probably still gear towards Rondo just because of what he could bring to us. But I think if we weren't able to get any of the other two, Lance Stephenson would still make us better. Because, like I said, I think we still lack a backup shooting guard or a backup point guard who can push Brunson to the two. And I don't think Josh Green's ready. I don't think Trey Burke's good enough on a consistent basis. And Tyrell Terry isn't ready either. So, look, I'd definitely take Lance Stephenson if it came to it. But it also depends. But it also depends on what else we can do. Are we going to get Dragic? If we get Dragic, then I probably would say not to Stevenson. But, things have gone quiet around the Mavs, so not really sure what they're going to do. We all know they try and work in the dark quite a bit, so we're probably just going to see something break out, hopefully anytime soon. But more importantly, let me know what you guys think. Would you take any of the three? And do you think they'd make us better or worse? I always love to hear what you guys have to say, so leave a comment down below. Also, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.